SMEs are the lifeblood of Uganda's economy. According to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, we have about 1.5 SMEs in Uganda's economy, and that makes up 95% of the enterprise population for Uganda. From a GDP perspective, SMEs contribute over 85% of our GDP. However, only 10% of SMEs have access to a bank account or a credit line, and over 70% of SMEs have unmet financial needs. And some of the factors that contribute to this failure to access finance are things like poor financial records. We've seen a number of SMEs that don't have any financial records. A poor credit history. You've seen SMEs that have non-performing loans in other banks. Then you have poor governance structures. And then we also have some of the directors of these SMEs having a poor credit history, which ultimately impacts the SME's ability to access financing. But over and above all these things, I think the biggest one that stops SMEs from accessing finance is the lack of collateral. And that's where value chain financing comes in to advance collateral-free lending to SMEs. To define value chain financing, we start with what a value chain is. Because a value chain is a process by which a product comes to life. So right from sourcing of materials to the transportation of these materials to production and then to consumption. So if we take an example of a soda, the raw materials that go into the production of soda, maybe the sugar concentrates and other raw materials. Then we have someone that supplies these raw materials to a corporate. And then we have that the corporate does the production of the soda itself, but they do not have the muscle to distribute all this soda across the country. So then we bring in the distributors that then help with the distribution of this product. So an SME, to be part of a value chain, has to either be supplying a product to a corporate or distributing a product on behalf of a corporate. Now, what value chain financing helps us do is it helps us customize solutions for all the players across that value chain, right from the person that is supplying the product to the corporate itself that's doing the production of the soda, and to the distributor that's getting that soda to the supermarket or your neighborhood shop. So in addition to, I think the number one benefit of this form of financing is access to collateral-free financing. So we will not request for a house, we will not request for a land title. That is number one. But number two, as part of the discussion with the corporate, we can agree a preferential rate for the SMEs within its value chain. So this value chain financing also enables SMEs to have access to preferential rates. Then in addition to the preferential rates, we go a step further to say, how do we capacitate these SMEs? How do we build their capacity? And we give them free business skills training through our SME Academy. So the third benefit is access to free business skills training through the SME Academy at ABSA. And then lastly, as part of the business skills training, we also provide tools to these SMEs, tools like My SME, that helps the SME capture records and then build a body of information that the bank can use for any assessment. But veering away slightly from the SME, value chain financing also has benefits for the corporate. And one of the benefits for the corporate one is that it minimizes the risks of supply chain failures. The corporate will not be in a situation where you've issued an LPO to someone and they are unable to supply because they do not have the financing. So it mitigates that risk of supply chain failures. In addition to that, it helps the corporate meet their local content requirements. For example, in the oil and gas space, we have 16 services that are ring-fenced for local companies. And this solution, value chain financing, will help the local SMEs participate in the sector, which ultimately helps the corporate meet its local content requirements. So the starting point for you to qualify for value chain financing is that there must be documentation that evidences your relationship with the corporate. So you must have a contract of some form. And the contract can be in various forms. We can have the standard contracts. We've seen some of the SMEs simply come with the framework contracts. Some come with just an LPO or a purchase order. So the starting point is that there must be something to demonstrate your relationship between the SME and the corporate. Number two is that the SME must have some sort of financial record, something to show the volume that they've been trading, something to show how their balance sheet looks like. So you must have some level of financial records. Then number three, it's important for the SME to maintain a clean credit history. So SMEs must ensure that their report from the Credit Reference Bureau is clean and they do not have any non-performing or written-off loans. I think we've seen this quite a bit as we do assessments, and we're seeing SMEs challenging some of the findings on those reports. And what we would encourage SMEs to do is to say, do periodic checks of these reports, and if there is anything that you're not in agreement with, you can always reach out to the Credit Reference Bureau to correct it. So over 90% of our enterprise population is made up of SMEs. So through this form of financing, SMEs can access growth capital. They'll be able to grow their businesses and expand even into and diversify the product range. Now, once the SME diversifies and grows, it's going to employ more people into the organization, which will definitely contribute to a reduction in the unemployment levels in the country.